everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you continuing our Mission Impossible movie review series in anticipation for the upcoming 7th installment in the franchise, Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is due for release on July the 12th, 2023. And you can check out my reviews of previous movies within the series on this channel, and I'll leave some links within the description. So we then move on to the third film within the series, which was released on May the 5th, 2006. It has, of course, Tom Cruise reprising his role yet again as Ethan Hunt, alongside Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Phillip Seymour Hoffman, Maggie Q, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, Billy Cudrup, and Laurence Fishburne, and it was directed by J.J. Abrams. It is, of course, the continuation of the movie adaptation of the classic 60s series based on a secret spy agency known as the IMF. Now, the story this time round has Ethan Hunt retiring from the IMF in terms of field assignments. We see him at home happily engaged to his nurse named Julia. He then finds himself dragged back into the field when one of his recruits, Lindsay Ferris, has been captured by a notorious arms dealer known as Owen Davian. Ethan leads a team to rescue her, but during the frantic escape, Lindsay dies from having an explosive device planted in her brain. After being disciplined by IMF director for failure to apprehend Davian, Ethan leads an undercover operation successfully to track down and capturing Davian in the Vatican. The team look into bringing Davian to discover the location of a crucial device known as the Rabbit's Foot. But before they reach the IMF headquarters, their convoy is attacked via helicopter on a bridge by mercenaries who are there to extract Davian and escape. Having discovered Ethan's identity, Davian has Julie kidnapped and gives him 40 hours to obtain the Rabbit's Foot. Ethan is then arrested by IMF for failure to capture Davian and even suspected of conspiring against the IMF. Ethan eventually frees himself from capture and begins a frantic race against time to get the Rabbit's Foot in order to save Julia. Now, when we look at the previous two movies within the franchise, both were hugely successful blockbusters, but both were also very flawed. We look at the first film's somewhat convoluted, slow plot, and then we look at the second film in terms of its high action but very low substance and characterization. Well, Mission Impossible 3 proved to be the best of all releases at this time, and it overall still ranks as one of the best installments within the entire franchise. Certainly for the first 2/3 of the film, it's an exciting mix of plot twists and mystery and suspense. All of these elements make for a far more engaging story, especially this time when we see Ethan Hunt going far more on the run. The movie also has spectacular action set pieces, even actually outdoing the John Woo sequel because of the better execution and build-up. We have truly great sequences from the helicopter rescue, where they're having to fly under the rotating pylons whilst under pursuit. We then have the mandatory abseiling madness from Ethan Hunt, as we see him leap off a massive building in Shanghai, swinging across in order to obtain a Rabbit's Foot. Implausible, yes, but also very exciting to watch. And then we have the standout sequence as IMF's convoy gets ambushed on the freeway bridge. It's an absolutely insane action sequence, brilliantly setting up all of the tension as we see the helicopter slowly rise up behind Ethan Hunt before firing away, and then we see Ethan jumping over the bridge, and we also then get the big money shot that was very much advertised within the trailers, where we see Hunt running out of a damaged vehicle before the drone missile hits it, and we see the explosion repelling him against the car window. And this sequence alone makes the action even more larger than what we saw in Mission Impossible 2, because this time the characters look like they're in actual danger. Whereas previously, Hunt was all cool looks, an invincible superhero amongst all of the slow motion and the rock soundtrack. Now there's a real grit and viscerality that keeps you more on the edge of your seat, and it's absolutely fantastic to watch. And you're even more compelled because this time, with the addition of Julia as his fiance, we have far more personal stakes this time round. There's much more of a desperation and anxiety about Ethan Hunt than previously, so this again brings much more sense of jeopardy. And this type of narrative allows Tom Cruise to exhibit a bit more range in terms of emotions in the lead role. And there's far more better supporting roles this time round. This movie, of course, gave us the first appearance of Simon Pegg as IMF technician Benjamin Dunn, or Benji, very much to comic relief, and he would go on to become a mainstay of the franchise going forward. Laurence Fishburne is also very good as the hardened, tough IMF director Theodore Brassel, and throughout the story, the movie very much drops suggestions that he could be playing a duplicitous role. We then talk about Phillip Seymour Hoffman as Davian, which I previously felt when watching this movie that he was a great villain, and he certainly has some great moments, especially in the two interrogation scenes. We have the first one, which opens the movie, and also the other where we see Davian apprehended on a plane and Ethan looking to discover the location of the rabbit's foot. Now, both of these are great moments, but Davian still feels underutilized as a villain. He definitely could have done with more scenes, and both his role and impact certainly diminishes towards the final climax. And when we talk about the final climax itself, it definitely feels a little bit flat, because considering all of the action that we had previously, it's almost as if the movie used up all of its best tricks in the first 2/3 and then was running on fumes towards the end. But despite all of this, the conclusion of the film is all rounded off very fine. So we then go on to the movie's overall release, and it grossed in $398.5 million from a hefty $150 to $186 million budget. It was somewhat of a moderate success on one hand, but on the other hand, it was seen very much as a disappointment. It performed far lower than the 2000 sequel, which was the year's top grosser with $546.1 million, and it even made less than the first film way back in 1996, that movie making $457 million. And the film's underperformance was ironically down to its biggest seller point, which is its star Tom Cruise. Now, at the time of this movie's release, it was very much the start of a downturn in Cruise's popularity and image. Having had a successful run of mega hits throughout the 2000s decade with the looks of Minority Report, The Last Samurai and Collateral, he was certainly sitting at the top of the tree as the biggest star within the industry. But following the lead up to this release in 2005, he very much became far more exposed because of his involvement in Scientology. We then had the infamous couch jumping incident on the Oprah Winfrey Show in May 2005, when the actor proclaimed his love for his new partner Katie Holmes, already drawing a lot of controversy because of the huge age gap between the couple. He then appeared in a very fiery interview on a Today Show with Matt Lawyer, where he discussed his disapproval at the use of medication to try and cope with depression. And all of these incidents were continuous in lead up to the release and very much divided Cruise's image amongst his audience and fan base, with many people questioning his overall sanity, since previously he had very little controversy whenever he promoted his movies. Now, this decline in popularity lasted a long time before his career was restarted with the following Mission Impossible release, Ghost Protocol, in 2014, and that really was the sign of the franchise becoming most dominant within his overall career, and it would very much go on to reinvigorate his star profile. And when looking back at the reception of the franchise, Mission Impossible 3 is often overlooked, but it still remains, I think, one of the best of the entire series, with superb, well-executed action sequences, a far more suspenseful and grittier tone this time around, with much more personal stakes which make it more compelling to watch. This sequel is very much an entertaining and action-packed installment, much improved of the previous two movies, and is still more than a worthwhile watch today, many years after its overall release. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and look back on Mission Impossible 3. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Where do you think it ranks within the overall hierarchy of the Mission Impossible movies? Let me know what you think in the comments, and keep paying attention to this channel for my following reviews of the subsequent installments within the franchise going forward, in the lead up, of course, to Dead Reckoning Part 1, which of course I will provide reviews when it overall comes out on July the 12th. Also, let me know if you have any other suggestions regarding any other movies or television series or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover. Also, let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on those topics within the future. Please consider hitting like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very soon.